Hey there, friends. Welcome back to Hawkeye Speaks. This morning, I am going to tell you a story. I'm going to tell you a story about a couple that I met down in Silver City a few years ago. I'll let you know right off the bat here that it has a sad ending. All right, I want to give you a little warning there about that part of it. Okay. My puppy here, Dinga had her surgery last week. She's doing good. We got to check up on Monday. How you doing, Doobie? She's happy. All right, so thanks for tuning in, everyone. This is story time with Hawkeye Speaks. I had a bit of a spiritual experience. Not a bit. I had a major spiritual experience in the summer of 2019. It was rather life-changing in some overall positive ways, but it presented some difficulties for me as well. You know, when these kind of things happen to us, we usually end up making some changes, and some of those changes are difficult and take some time to work out. And also, I mean, the whole spiritual experience, the way I defined it after it happened and I realized what had happened, it made me vulnerable. It made me what I described as a new seedling that had sprouted. But I was in a vulnerable condition. And it was a very interesting time, and I was very illuminated by what I had been learning and what I was studying. And it went hand in hand, the new knowledge that I was gaining and this overall experience I was having through an excitement about learning coincided with the spiritual experience. You know, it was hand in hand. And part of it was that, a big piece of it that allowed it to happen was me humbling myself, you know, allowing myself to just become a student, a child. And, really kind of exemplifies that saying about, becoming like a child to enter the gates of Zion or heaven. You know, I forget the exact quote. But in any case, let's get on with the story. In November of 2019, after my spiritual experience, I had decided to hit the road. I had decided to kind of even just abandon some things I had going on here in Taos, New Mexico, and I headed down south. And this was a journey of putting the boots on the ground, because I had been studying soil health and land management for a couple of years. I had a background in horticulture. I've been farming. I've been doing organic stuff and composting for many, many years. But the intensive studies around soil science was new. And the studies about holistic land management were brand new. I had picked up the book, Holistic Management by Alan Savory, actually in Silver City, by chance. It wasn't where my mind was at yet, but I was shopping at an antique store one time and I saw the book on the shelf, picked it up, and saw that it was about managing animal populations in Zimbabwe, kind of arid land, regenerating arid lands. And I thought, oh, this is good, critical information. And I picked the book up. And like I say, my mind was not there yet. I hadn't listened to any of Savory's talks yet. I didn't know about this story of ruminant animals as herds. And it was it was a fortuitous moment that I grabbed that book. And then, as I had said, I had my spiritual experience. I had been studying soil science, and I got into the book Holistic Management, which was a major game changer for me. It really opened up the doors to learning ecology, learning how ecosystems work, and it gave me the knowledge that I needed to quantify what I could already see happening around me in this desertifying environment. So, Holistic Management, the book, changed my life. I cannot recommend it enough. And the subtitle of the book is A New Framework for Decision Making, and that it is. I mean, the book is mostly about this whole thing about using ruminant animals as herds, and that this system, the herd and predator system, is what created and maintained the grasslands, herblands, and prairie lands of the world. But it's also about, as that subtitle implies, a framework for decision making. And it lays out what is essentially a system of governance. I mean, if you've ever looked into systems of cooperative governance, some of them are quite complicated. But the holistic management system, it is a solid system. And it is all about putting holistic goals before plans and ideas. It's about coming together in groups, identifying shared common values, and then forming holistic goals, and then working towards those goals by putting all the plans and ideas through a set of testing protocols to see what would actually best achieve those goals. Very, very simple, yet also extremely profound, because what we tend to do in this reductionist materialist society is just put the plans and ideas first, one after the next, without really testing them out or weighing them against a goal, and without, and allowing society to slip away from shared common values. Though when we investigate these things and we sit down with groups of even the most disparate camps of individuals, we can find that people generally have the same shared common values in their heart of hearts, for their long-term desires, the holistic goal. So the book Holistic Management, wow, major game changer for me. Major game changer, especially as being a plan and idea person. Someone who comes up with plans and ideas. Many of them are good, but putting that, putting the force before Descartes. Never put Descartes before the force. That's my new joke about philosophy. So let's get right into the real meat of this story. All right. I was in my little RV sitting in a parking lot in downtown Silver City underneath some big cottonwood trees. This parking lot has been rebuilt since then. It's modernized with concrete curbs and benches and modern bathrooms, but it was just a dirt lot kind of off to the side of Main Street with some giant cottonwood trees that you could park under right next to the big ditch. And I was there enjoying the shade of the cottonwood on a nice warm November day. And a couple pulled up in front of me in an old first generation Dodge, a blue Dodge, early 90s Dodge with a gray camper top on the back. Some little slightly beaten up truck that, working men or perhaps drunkards drive trucks like that. But they pulled up and they parked in an orderly fashion right up in front of me. And then as they got out of the vehicle, I could see them. I could see them right through my windshield from where I was sitting in the back of the RV. And they caught my eye right off the bat. They were dressed like farmers without a farm, maybe. I mean, they had a look to them. They had a look of kind of civility and I mean, what's the word? Like pride? Not pride, but they were well kept in a way. For not being fancy people, they had on kind of farm type clothes, but they were well kept and ordered, and you could tell by just the way that they behaved that they treated each other with respect and also their animals. They had dogs in the back of the truck. And they went around and they checked in with their dogs for a minute or two, it wasn't just a quick shut the heck up kind of a thing. I mean, you could tell that they liked their animals. But anyway, this was just my first impression of these people. So they finished up their business, closed the back of the truck and told the dogs to stay quiet and whatnot. And then they came walking up next to the RV. And I happened to be finishing up the last pages of the book Holistic Management by Alan Savory as they walked past. And having gained that initial insight that, hey, these guys look kind of like farm folks, I, made the intuitive decision to do what I did, which was to slide open the window as they walked by, poke my head out, and ask the question, hey, y'all into holistic management? That's exactly what I said. Hey, y'all into holistic management? And they were like, what? Excuse me? And it turned out that these two people, their names were Leif and Maryanne. Leif and Maryanne turned out to be very much into holistic management. They proceeded to tell me that their dog, one of their prized hounds, was named Savory after Alan Savory. And I invited them into the camper and we talked for a good, at least a half an hour, maybe an hour. We talked about holistic management. We talked about all the aspects of reversing desertification and healing the land by working in unison with nature, acting as stewards. it was abundantly clear that they had the same vision that I had, that a realization, a profound proportion that that our eyes had caught on to the trajectory of degradation in the environment around us, and that was accompanied with the realization that we have the ability to change the trajectory. It's a big life-changing moment when you realize that. And it had been a big life-changing ordeal for these folks as well as it has been for me. Leif and Maryanne had spent some time out in Hawaii, but they were both from Utah and had Mormon family. Kind of, Mormons are generally kind of strict people, and this couple was seeking some more freedom, I would say. And but they were ones that you could tell, as I said, they had respect. They had respect for where they came from. They had, they weren't frivolous-minded people. They were people with intention. You could tell, absolutely. They were very, very serious about this holistic management paradigm, as well as they were very serious about kind of a rejection of society. They were living outside in a tent. They had several dogs. They were breeding the dogs. They were adamant about never vaccinating or never deworming or never using any of these modern Western medications for their pets. They were adamant about the necessity of breeding up resilient animals, and their dogs were strong, very strong. Rhodesian Ridgebacks, big, tough hunting dogs. And they had horses out there too. They had a couple horses. They were camped near the town of Gila at the on the Bill Evans Lake Road. You go down that road about 10, 15 miles, it comes out to a beautiful valley, an absolutely beautiful valley. When I went out there to visit them, I took the little RV out there with Anthony, another buddy that I met at the laundromat, and we've remained friends since then. Anthony and I went out to find Leif and Maryanne at their campsite and drove the little RV out there. And at the exact place where I parked at the little top of the hill above where their camp was, when I opened up the door, I found an amazing, amazing pottery shard. Really beautiful pottery shard. I guess I had intended to have that in my hand while I recorded this talk, but I forgot when I started a few minutes ago. But it's right outside, right there in the RV. I'm looking at it right now. When I opened the door to the RV, that pottery shard was sitting right there, looking right up at me, only about a foot off of the road, in a place where it might have even been ran over several times. And I did take that shard and keep it. It's, like I say, it's right there in the RV still, and it reminds me of Leif and Maryanne. So Anthony and I went out there and we met up with them. We had a nice chat. We ended up running into them again in another spot, and I saw them downtown in Silver City another couple of times. And I'm gonna go ahead and I'm gonna go ahead and tell you the end of the story here before I fill in a few more details, which is that I ended up hearing about 6 weeks or 2 months later that Leif and Maryanne had passed away. They both died. They both died just probably a few days after I left Silver City there in late November or early December. They went off the road on that Bill Evans road and rolled the truck, and they both passed away. But I'm not ever going to forget them. I'm not going to forget their faces, and I'm not going to forget that scene, them camping out there with horses and dogs. But most of all, I'm never ever going to forget their enthusiasm and the magic of that moment of meeting them and us coming together in reverence of the land and of our ability to heal the land. I will never ever forget that moment. That moment lives on as a very large experience in my life. And I'm thankful. I'm very thankful to have met them. I'm thankful for their dedication. And I'm thankful that I listened to my own intuition to slide open that window and make that funny statement. Hey, y'all into holistic management? You know, sometimes we got to strike when the iron's hot. We got to realize that there's a moment for everything. There's a time for everything. That every youngin', every youth that's growing up has specific developmental windows that they go through. Just as every organism that is going through its life cycle has specific developmental windows that should be enhanced by each other. You know, as we're still have some youth left in us, people like me, people like Leif and Maryanne, and then we get turned on to ideas like this holistic management, and that spirit, the flame and the fire of spirit grows inside of us. That is something to cherish within each other, you know, because it's hard to keep that flame going in such a fashion. You know, it's hard to keep that light shining as bright as it does when we're initially, you know, attracted to a beautiful idea. So I want to encourage everyone to just listen to your intuition and step out of the box sometimes and talk to other people. Talk to young people, talk to crazy people, talk to farmers, talk to street people, you know, and keep the flame alive, because it's there. You know, it's not in academia and governance, and of course it's not in the military-industrial complex. We know their agenda is quite the opposite from stewardship of a healthy earth. So yeah, I mean, I recommend everyone reads the book Holistic Management, or at least familiarize yourself with these concepts. Do it for yourself, do it for your children, do it for Leif and Maryanne. Beautiful couple, literally beautiful people, you know, but also their spirits. That flame, so bright, you know. I ended up talking with Maryanne's mother. That's how I found out that they had passed away. And her story is a private one I'm not going to share. But it's heavy. It's real heavy. Sometimes that's the way it is. I mean, all of the best ones in life sometimes die young. You know? So that's another aspect of encouragement that I want to offer, is that, you know, we got to reach out. We got to reach out and look for those moments where the flame is really bright. Try to keep it kindled. Thanks for listening, everybody. Thanks for listening to my story about Leif and Maryanne. I hope that it touched your heart in the way that they touched mine.